right. Hey, Mitch. So glad to have you.
Hey, Michelle. I'm so excited. I know we've been planning this for a while, and I've been
Yeah.
getting all excited all weekend. I knew I was going on with you on the show live.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you said yes to joining me on Michelle's
Of course.
Conversations That Matter. That's it's my jam. I'm really out to cause more open dialogue, maybe about things that are a little uncomfortable, but hopefully inspire people, educate people, whatever there is. I want to make a difference for people.
Be a thought leader.
Yeah, I'm trying,
Yeah.
I'm doing my jam.
You're doing it. You're doing it.
Yeah. And you and I have known each other since the days of the Young Entrepreneur.
Yeah, it was early
Academy.
2000s, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know how far back it goes. We went back probably for 5 or 6 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I met you and we were doing the Young Entrepreneur Academy. And yeah, I thought you were awesome then. And then I've been able to stay connected to you and watch what you're doing. And so I'm really excited. So we're here and we're going to talk today, I think, about a very important topic for business owners and for leaders in general, wherever they are, because I think these are the moments where people define themselves and companies define themselves during instances like this, the pandemic.
We're at our worst when we're at our best when things are at their worst.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right. It's true. So can you take a second before we dive in, Mitch, and just introduce yourself for people who don't know who you are, tell them who you are, where you work, and what you do?
Sure. My name is Mitch Beinhaker. I think it's all over the screen anyway. And I am a small business attorney in Clark, New Jersey, just off the Garden State Parkway. I won't tell you the exit number. And I work with mostly small business owners. I mean, I don't work with large corporations. I work with executives and professionals, medical professionals, and so forth. But most of my clients are solopreneurs, small business owners, family-owned businesses, partnered businesses. And I generally work on, and I try to focus working on a fractional basis. So somebody would hire me, they pay me a flat monthly fee. I'm available to them in a certain capacity. Any other work is discounted. And I get to know their business dealings intimately. Ad hoc lawyering is fine. People call me, can you help me with this and that? But generally you get a worse result and it costs you more money because I spend half my time just learning about your business or reading your agreements. And then in the middle of it, you're like, oh, I found this operating agreement we have. I'm like, I thought you said you didn't have an operating agreement. And that stuff happens all the time. So my preferential way to work with people is where I'm on retainer on a monthly basis. They use my time, let me know what's going on in the business. I can spot issues all the time. And, people confide in me about it becomes a little therapy, but people confide in me. And even I'm as low as, $2.99 a month for a solopreneur. So
wow,
just to get started, it's only you and you have me available. And if you need anything else, I think it's at a 15% discount over other things. So, that's awesome. a good way to work with me.
You also offer free legal advice.
Especially to you.
No.
I do.
Well, yeah, that's true. No, I'm talking about your live stream or your podcast that you do.
Yeah. So I have I don't know if I offer advice through the podcast. The podcast and we can put some information out. It's called The Accidental Entrepreneur. And I interview people who are business owners, who are social media influencers. Maybe they wrote a book. They're an inventor. I interviewed, I think he's coming out soon. I interviewed the president of the United Inventors Association. So I get a lot of people from PR personnel, people that are trying to get people with their books on podcasts, really all over the world. So, and I'm hopefully going to work on a book. Maybe you're going to help me.
Yeah.
Talk about lesson learned from my first 100 guests but it's going to be a lot of work. And,
awesome.
I have learned a lot and they've shared a lot of information to help people to kind of get a hold of their business. I think
I do have to interject because the segments that I have watched of you doing your Thursday
my morning live stream.
Yeah, man, they're good. You give nuggets. You do give legal nuggets to have people thinking that there are things that I didn't think about that you bring up. So it's to anyone's interest to follow you on LinkedIn and check out.
That's on Facebook. I'm waiting on approval for LinkedIn. I think we'll be nearing retirement when I get the approval, probably.
No, you upload it. Wait, no.
I do. I upload it to LinkedIn. I go live to Facebook.
Exactly.
It's like 15 minutes on Thursday mornings at 10:30. Used to be called like the Thursday morning legal update. I made it. It's the Thursday morning live stream was supposed to be during Corona. I think it's going to happen for the rest of my life. But it depends on what's going on in the week, whatever I'm frustrated with. Usually it's because I had a conversation with somebody and I'm like, they did it again, and like at one time I was doing a lot of talking, I still am, about written documents, because that's what I do. 80% of my practice is drafting agreements to help you run your business, right?
Right.
So people don't put things in writing, and this kind of leads us into the whole leadership thing, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't remember anything. Like, we don't have the capability of remembering anything. I'm having a guy on my podcast next Monday. As a matter of fact, I can apologize. Somehow he didn't end up on my calendar and he was waiting for me. He got a confirmation. It wasn't in the system. I don't know what happened, but he's coming on next Monday. He's a memory expert.
Okay.
Our brains just like take information in, stuff it in a big box, and then mix it all together and pull things out haphazardly. So when you have a business dealings arrangements, and this goes when you are leading a company and you're dealing with employees and you're whatever, if you don't put things in writing so you understand what you talked about at the time, you're going to forget it. I mean, it's just guaranteed. So that was one of my weeks. I was just very frustrated that people don't put things in writing. And I constantly get in situations where partners are breaking up, or somebody wants to fire their client. There's no agreement, or, someone dies in the partnership. What happens now?
Right.
And they don't have anything in writing.
Right. So that's a pet peeve of yours. Get the thing in writing already. Protect
Put it
yourself.
in writing.
Okay.
Don't say, I can't ask my clients to sign a contract. I'm uncomfortable about it. If you're professional, you're charging for your services. You got to figure out how to be comfortable. Judge won't say, oh, that's okay.
You were a little
I understand. Yeah. It's not
it doesn't work. Yeah. Right. No. That's good. It's good that you you hit that home.
Yeah.
So listen. So one of the things I want to highlight. So we're going to talk about first about people leaders and what people leaders can be doing for their people, and then we're going to go in and talk about business owners, what business owners could be doing with their clients. So the first piece around people leaders. So I read an article early in the pandemic.
Now, Michelle, you mean people leaders like in government? Those kind of people?
No, I'm talking the average people leader in a company. So it could be small company. It's someone who has authority.
Upper management, that type of thing.
Someone who's the face of the company for the employee, basically.
Okay, fair enough.
So the article was really it made me step back. It was a Forbes article. It made me step back and say, this is really interesting, because they talk about how the people leader shows up and how the company shows up can actually breed loyalty. Now is the time during the pandemic that relationship and how people are treated breeds loyalty. And then I have a couple of clients in Korea, and I had a student tell me that her company sent her a box of oranges just to let her know that they were thinking of her. That box of oranges made her so happy, and she was like in love with her company. So it doesn't take a lot. So my point is, like, now is the time where companies can really show up, breed loyalty, take care of their employees, really do the right thing.
Right.
So what do you think it means to be a good people leader during this time? Like, as any leader out there, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of ironic, because you should always be a good leader. You should always be making your employees feel they're important. And I think a lot of companies, larger companies especially, don't act like people matter. And if the people don't come back to work one day, you don't have much of a company. So I think it's very important. So then you get into situations like this pandemic, where everything's magnified and people are stressed. I've heard stories about people having panic attacks at stores and gyms and all kinds of places. And they don't really know what to make of this. When it started, it was like, oh, well, for the next 90 days, what are we going to do? Well, we're way beyond 90 days. And it's an opportunity for businesses to shine. There's no question about it, but it's probably long overdue in terms of, sending the right message and making people to be loyal. And you're right. It's not difficult to make your employees feel like you care about them. I've heard stories, companies telling people, listen, first Tuesday in September, got to come back to work. And they're like, well, I don't want to. My mom lives with me and I'm nervous about it and this, that. I mean, forget about the liability issue. I can't imagine force somebody to come back to work and then they get coronavirus and they're gonna be suing the heck out of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, we have discovered, right, that people can work non-traditionally. Right. The traditional sense was, in this country, is that you live to work. You don't work to live. Like other parts of the world, people work to live and they have whatever
Mhm.
afternoons off and they come back after dinner, whatever. It's just a totally different lifestyle. In this country, it's all about work, living to work, you know? And I
Mhm.
think that maybe this is an eye-opening time. And I don't think we're ever going to go back to working the way we did. Will people commute into work? Sure. Will they do it 5 days a week, leaving 5 a.m. and coming back 10 o'clock at night? I don't think so. I think they'll be
Right.
working home 2 or 3 days a week because,
Exactly.
I mean, I don't think anybody has any problem with the productivity that they're getting out of their employees.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think too, it goes beyond a feel good thing that I'm as a people leader, I'm going to do this because it's a feel good thing. It's about productivity. It's about engagement. It's
no
about
question
if
about it.
your employees feel good and they're engaged and that means if they're engaged, they're going to perform.
Of
If
course.
it's like it's like a no-brainer. So it
Well, there's a
makes
lot of things in life that are no brainers and people don't do them anyway.
people don't do them anyway.
You're just like, well, that would make sense. Why would we do that? You know?
God forbid.
Yeah. No, but it's true because people, if they feel, look, nobody feels that this whole situation is good. There are silver linings to the whole pandemic, whatever.
Right.
But I also think that if you make people feel like, listen, this is going to be okay, or even if it's not, we're going to get through this together, and you're supportive of your relationships and you remind them and you help them work at home. We were talking offline. Maybe there's ways to help families with younger children because it's definitely distracting.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, but I think that in the long run, you're going to have a lot of loyalty and a lot of productivity and better quality of life because at the end of the day, it's all about your life, right? Because at
It
the end
is.
of the day, the only thing left is your death.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if it's not quality of life, well, what are you doing it for? But in the 40s and 50s and 60s, I don't think we looked at that.
Yeah.
You just work
Work
and work and work, work,
grind.
work. Then you retire. Well, none of us are going to retire.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So,
amazing. I mean, I think the pandemic has also taught us all to slow down a little bit, right?
yep.
Like stop being so
Appreciate things. Yep.
yeah, stop
Don't
being
stress,
over
just overdo it,
yeah. Like just take one precious moment at a time. I mean, like people are having to be with their loved ones whether or not they choose to. And it's a whole new perspective on life, right? Like
Yeah.
what really matters is this job, does this job really matter? Well, the company can do the right thing and maybe you would feel like I want to be here a little while.
Yeah. I think in terms of the legal profession, I think you're going to see a lot of lawyers at large firms that work to the bone because it's a grind at big law
Hmm.
that are going to say, you know what? I'm 45, 50 years old. I have clients. I
Hmm.
don't need this. I don't want to commute in every day. And
Right.
I'm going to start my own practice, grab a couple of guys and make a small practice. And I think you're going to see a lot of bigger firms kind of,
Yeah.
dematerialize and separate and move on. It's
It's
not
so
worth it.
it's so interesting that you say that. I had interviewed a woman, Jessie Spressart. She's part of my series, Michelle's Conversations That Matter. And she's a coach to attorneys because of the high prevalence of burnout, addiction, burnout, and depression. And
Yeah,
so like you just saying that to me makes me go, wow, I wonder if things are a little bit different in the big law firms right now.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And they better wake up.
Yeah.
They better say, listen, we want to stay together as a firm. We got to do things differently than we've been doing. We better start taking care of our people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what a good leader does, right? A good leader doesn't, I mean, that's why the word dictator is different than leader, right? So a dictator tells people what to do. A
Yeah.
leader guides them along the way, gives them advice, helps them say, okay, well, if this works for you, then maybe we can make this adjustment and then it'll work for everybody. Or
Yeah.
what do you think, Michelle? How do you work at home? What
Yeah.
equipment do you need?
Yeah.
That type of stuff. And I think, I mean, the good companies, at least, you're going to see those kind of things going on.
So, I have this little company called Trifecta Mental Health. And so what I'm out to do is work with companies to shift their culture so they're more compassionate environments. And one of the things I've been doing is delivering my resilience program to their people. And I love the
By Zoom
company.
now, right? Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. I love the companies that are like, you know what, we should be doing something for our people. Those are the companies I want to work with who are like, yeah, let's get some resilience tips. Let's help our employees feel better, be
Right.
empowered, right?
Sure.
So I'm delivering that program and it's like Absolutely. Just bringing people together to talk about what they can do to stay healthy, to stay proactively taking care of their mind, taking care of their balance. That's only going to serve the performance of the company, the
Of course.
productivity. And they
Right.
get it. They get it. So it's
Right.
like,
Well,
I
that's
love
the
it.
ironic part of it, right? The companies that aren't doing things to support their employees are actually hurting themselves.
And they don't realize it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't realize
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So let's shift gears a little and talk about small business owners, because this is really your forte. You really work with small business owners. You probably have seen some of the struggles going on. So give us some insight and sort of like, let's start off with, how can small business owners differentiate themselves during this time?
Well, I've seen a bunch of different stuff. I've certainly seen the ones that have been out there supporting the frontline workers, maybe making donations and making it easier and comfortable for the people that do business with them, right?
Mm,
So I think that the smart business owners realized that they no longer could do business the way they wanted to do business. They need to do business the way the customer wants to do business. And it probably should have always been that way. But there's, look, there's a lot of people that want to do business the way they want to do it. And maybe we're in a position where we can, but I think in the long run, it doesn't really serve you. It doesn't serve your reputation in the community. It certainly doesn't serve your business. We were just looking for a vet recently, a new vet, and we were recommended to several. So my wife, our dogs are 12 years old and they're losing their teeth and they got all kinds. One of them's blind. So my wife's a little sensitive about who she drops the dogs. So she was talking to a couple, and I'm not going to mention who they are, but one was they're both nearby.
mm-hmm.
And one was basically unwilling to talk to her on the phone to discuss anything about the dog. They want us to drop the dogs off because you can't go in these clinics now.
Yeah, I know.
You pull up, they take the dogs, they go, they do stuff.
I know.
They didn't want to tell us how much it might cost. Nothing. Then we talked to another vet and they're like, oh, absolutely. Let me put the vet on the phone. The vet comes on the phone. Don't worry. This is how we work. We never do this. These are our prices. They were very friendly, customer focused.
Yeah.
So guess whose appointment we canceled?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was like, I don't need to. Well, what do you think? She said. I said, well, are you more comfortable with the second one than the first one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And they weren't even more money. They were less money.
Wow.
But it doesn't take a lot to be customer focused. And that's what I've seen from business owners, the creative ones. I've seen people say, okay, we're going to change what we're doing. Nobody's going to buy what we're buying. So we're making hand sanitizer, or we're making masks, or we're making shields, or making gowns.
Right.
And we're going to split up our shifts, and we're going to retool our factory so everybody's separated, and we'll send vans to pick up stuff from the sewers at their house. And we're going to, we're going to not just get through this, but we're going to do well here. And I've seen that. And then I've seen other people that I haven't seen them at a networking event. I don't know what they're doing. I hope they have a lot of money in the bank, and they can, get through it. But I haven't seen a lot of that creativity. And unfortunately, I think you're going to see a lot of businesses, go under. And there may be some people rethinking what they're doing. And they're like, you know what? I wasn't happy doing this to begin with. So what the hell am I doing for it again?
Right.
So
yeah.
I think one of the things, and I don't mean to interrupt you,
No.
going forward, is that the people that are smart enough to write a business plan and to have business plans in place, it doesn't have to be like this bound formal thing. Part of their plan should include some sort of resiliency portion if something like this happens again, because it will.
Yeah.
Not a question of if it will. It will. It may not be a virus. It may be, I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be something that's going to affect us and change the way we do business. This is a moment in time where we jumped about 15 years ahead in many respects, right? How we deal with employees, how we deal with technology, how we deal with schools, how we learn, all that kind of stuff. It was supposed to be a slow progression, and you get, the older people kind of retire and the younger people, this didn't happen.
No.
My father's doing stuff that he never wanted to do. He's 76 years old. He's like, I don't have to deal with this stuff. And now he's doing it. He's on Zoom, whatever. I'm sure to a certain extent, he's like, ugh, what do I need to deal with this stuff for?
Right.
But that's reality. So there's a major shift that's gone on in our economy. And unfortunately, the strong will survive. The creative will survive.
The creative, the agile, the ones who are constantly trying to look for I mean, honestly, in the beginning of this whole thing, I was sniffing out opportunity. I felt like in a time like this, there's got to be a whole lot of opportunity that we're just not
Especially
looking
in your
for.
space. I mean, people are freaking out. They have all kinds of mental health issues.
it's just like you got to look for the opportunity. Like the pizza guy, you and I talked about the pizza guy. What would the pizza guy? I never even
I'll
know.
give him a plug. It's called Out of Hand Pizza.
Yeah.
He's really, really stepped up and
So
yeah, done some great.
I didn't know this place existed. I live in Westfield. I didn't know this place existed.
Yeah, just the old Subway shop on the south side.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And this guy has like made a name for himself. Everyone knows about him, what he's
Yep.
doing. People are supporting what he's up to.
Yeah, he supported the frontline workers. He put together pizza kits, I think, before anybody else did. He
Yeah.
is also on a street that's not that busy. You could pull right up. He'll come to your window and give you the stuff. I mean, the guy's killing it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And that's the innovation. That's like the how do I meet people where they are? How do I meet the community with what they need versus what I'm used to pushing out or what I'm used to? Because like at the end of the day, Mitch, are we really going to go back to like the old way?
No way. I
Yeah.
think that's something you and I can say out in public. There
Yeah.
is no going back to normal. The normal's going to settle in and be like, you're going to commute in 2 days a week. You're going to stay home 3 days a week or vice versa. You're going to be remote completely. Your sales force doesn't need to come in but once a quarter. You know, we're going to, instead of having a large office now, we're going to rent little spaces from companies like Regis and other, I'm in an Office Evolution co-working space to put people around. It's going to be a totally different model of doing business. And the ones that are creative about it are going to attract the better talent and are going to be companies that people want to work for or small businesses that do well because they accept the fact, that it's not going back. It's just not. We're going to have, I was talking to somebody the other day, we're going to have like, you know, like DEF CON or whatever the rating is going to be like, today's a green day. Viral contagions are high. Wear your mask, you know, and you have to wear a mask for 2 weeks. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yep. It's our reality. It's a brand new world we're living in.
Yep.
So what about those harder conversations? You and I were talking before we went on the air about, you know, the people that come to you and they're struggling in their business and they don't even know if they can keep their doors open. Like, how does that go? What do you say? I mean, like you don't sugarcoat it. I know you're very direct.
No, I mean, it's all over for you. No, I don't say that. But, you know, I mean, the reality is that I think, first of all, I'm a big believer that it's never as bad as you think it is. So I think if you take an approach like take a deep breath, let the air out of the balloon, give it a day. Whenever I have a major problem, I like wait 24 hours because 9 times out of 10 it goes away, by the way. So it's probably not as bad as you think it is. So then you got to start looking at, and very often I do, let's look at the resources that you have. Let's look at the skills that you have. What's going on with your business? What has changed in your industry? Maybe you do have to do something different, but a lot of times you don't. You know, there will be industries that will become obsolete because of these kind of changes, right? But there'll be other businesses and industries that learn to work around it, you know? I mean, you look at telemedicine, right? So you didn't Zoom with your doctor. I mean, that was ridiculous.
Wow.
Telemedicine was like something on the internet from Canada, and you talk to some guy who you didn't even know in the Philippines, right? And how they're even doing this. But I think now you're going to see doctors because they don't want to fill their waiting room with people because somebody may have coronavirus or whatever. So if it's a checkup, if it's a general thing, if they don't have to take blood, if it's because it's not a wellness, but they're, you know, the kids are sniffling or whatever. It's more than just a phone call. Now they can go on Zoom. They can show what the rash looks like or this or that and get a feel for what, and they're going to recommend people, keep people out of the office. So I think you're going to see a lot of that kind of stuff. I think that let's use a difficult one, right? So retail, right? So if you're a small retailer, you got pounded during this type of thing. If you're part of a big chain, maybe not, but a lot of people are going online. Lord and Taylor's closing up in Westfield, which I'm sure was maybe a year or two earlier than they expected.
And Taylor closed.
Oh, did they?
I was like, where did Ann Taylor go?
Because Ann Taylor's a big company and they're making financial decisions. So, you know, Lord and Taylor, that building won't be there in, you know, a couple of years. So, you know, so now everybody in town, they're going to go to the mall. I mean, we got to go shopping, right?
Yeah.
So I see small retailers that are struggling because they weren't allowed to be open, which isn't really fair. But I don't know. I think retail is going to change. I think people are going to come into a store now and there's going to be like one of everything. And you're going to look at it, try it on, feel it, touch it, and then leave the store, make your payment. It's going to be shipped to your house and at your house before you get home. I don't think there's going to be warehousing of inventory. And I think that people are going to have to figure a way to do business on the retail side better. Restaurants is the same problem. Right now, New York's shutting down restaurants again.
Yeah.
And they're very much stuck with, but the really smart ones got involved with delivery and
Yes.
outdoor dining and using DoorDash and Grubhub and all these different types of services
Mm-hmm.
to make it easier for, people to eat your food.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about the fall, the end of fall and winter where we don't have the luxury of outdoor dining.
That is a problem. Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, 25% capacity. I mean, how are these businesses going to stay open?
They can't unless they have money in the bank. I mean, you can't, because most businesses run at a 20, 25% margin, maybe a 40% margin. In the city, it can't be more than 25%.
Right.
So if you're only getting 25% of the customer, and by the way, that's the capacity that they have. You think in the middle of winter, people can be going out to dinner with a
Yeah.
mask, and some people will, but not a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that you got to rethink what you're doing. And I don't know if that means you stay in business in the restaurant business, or you create some sort of a program
Mm-hmm.
where, people can, like, what I would do? I'm gonna put this idea out there. If I was a restaurateur,
Yeah.
I would put like a consortium together of local restaurants that have different, one's a Thai restaurant, one's a Chinese restaurant, one's an Italian restaurant, one's a this, that, and put together some sort of a program where people can subscribe
Mm-hmm.
every month, and each week choose a couple of meals that
Yeah.
get delivered from the different stores, and they all share in revenue and advertising, whatever, because it makes it easier for people.
Yep.
They don't all want to go to the supermarket all the time.
Right.
They don't want to cook all the time. Maybe they're working at home and they're busy and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And probably, I'm not saying you're going to get rich, but you might stay in business. I did a live stream one morning about opportunities to invest in local businesses. So, in the tech space or the startup space, you often hear about people raising seed money from friends and family, angel investors, venture capitalists. None of those people are interested in helping local businesses. But if you know somebody in the community has money and they want to help you out, there are ways, using a good business attorney, and one you can refer them to help them put a deal together or an arrangement that works for both people.
Yeah.
And maybe you take 30% ownership in the business for several years, and then they buy you out because they're not getting a loan.
Right.
So there are those kind of opportunities too. So you got to be creative and think about, if your friend's a doctor and he's very successful and you're trying to make your restaurant go, and he loves your restaurant, he's a good friend. Maybe you have a frank conversation with him. Say, listen, I never would have done this, but I want to stay open. Think we're good. I'll sell you 30% of the business, put it in, and this is what arrangement would you like? And see if it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like the idea of being creative, finding those creative opportunities. I guess think about DoorDash and those delivery. I mean, in Uber Eats, like
you know what Uber Eats did in the spring? I think they did 4.6 billion in sales. Now, I don't know what the profit margin is, but that's a lot.
That's
and
crazy.
They're a new player.
Yeah.
DoorDash and Grubhub, they were going before them.
Yeah. That's amazing. And there's an opportunity. Like I had a friend who was driving for Uber, who was making a ton of money, who was driving for Uber Eats and was making a ton of money on the side. I mean, it's just, you have to just pivot and go where you got to go and do what you have to do.
My son needed a job at college. He applied to DoorDash. Just got his package the other day. He's going to drive in. He's got a friend making $400 a week. This is in college. Kids going to college. $400 a week. DoorDash.
People need
how come you're not making $400 a week? Get you out there. Do it. So I'm going to find out what happens this week. Yeah. Yeah, I got to pay some bills, That's
awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Oh my goodness. What else? Oh, I was going to ask you, so we talked about the restaurants. We talked about the small businesses, if they're not doing so well, the viable options. What other thoughts do you have for small businesses to sort of be okay during this time? What other ideas?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the local businesses before were not that savvy with online marketing. They had an Instagram page, they put up pictures, they might post and whatever, but I think there's a way to really be a leader and an interesting person, whether you're doing, maybe you're teaching cooking or you're whatever it is, to really be in people's minds and be out there. And I do a lot of stuff as an attorney on social media, through the podcast, through my email list, through postings and things. People are like, wow, you're everywhere. And I don't feel that way, but you build systems that keep yourself, thought of, like a pizza place is a very good example, right? So unless there's a conversation going on about your pizza shop, nobody's going to think about you.
Right.
There's a lot of, you and I could probably make a list of the pizza places in Westfield. Yeah, so it's a long list. So you want to be the person who's top of mind, who's sharing information, who may be connecting organizations to each other, who are promoting other people. That's why I do the podcast, because it's content from me, allows me to approach somebody if I want to talk to them, and it helps them because it gives them the opportunity to market their business. So I think for a business owner, you really want to jump on board with social media, building an email list. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
Keep in touch programs. You know how many restaurants I've been to where they have like a fishbowl? Let's say they're giving away a lunch or whatever, and I throw my card in there. You probably won't win the lunch, right? And I say to whoever I'm with, never going to hear from them again. They go, what do you mean? They are not going to do anything with all these cards in this. They're going to call the person who won the lunch.
And that's it.
And these are people that have come to your store and have said, hey, I'm here. I'm going to be a patron and I'm putting my card. You should be sending them coupons and staying in touch with them and giving them information and connecting with other opportunities and promoting other businesses. There's a lot of cross collaboration you can do to promote yourself. But I think that if you've been in business for 40 years and, you better get the younger generation involved, or you better get other people involved because it may not be your thing. There's services. One of my affiliate sponsors of the podcast is called Now Site Marketing. It's a simple way to get a hold of all your digital marketing. Basically, you get an email every day and it says, you're in the restaurant business, retail services. You can pick an article, click a couple of buttons. It goes on your thing and then says, hey, follow me and stay in touch. Way to do it in 5 minutes. Now it's, I don't know, $80, $90 a month. It's not a lot, but it's a way to do things without knowing much. But there's also other people you can find. There's all kinds of marketing people that you got to get out and do it, because you need to make hay out of what you're doing, and don't sit around looking out the window thinking people are going to walk into your business because they're
right. So before I let you go, I want to talk about like the coolest kid from the Young Entrepreneur Academy that you remember, because I loved the creativity.
Is this the one that you mentored?
Which one?
I don't know. Oh, you want me to come? I'm not going to say like which one kid was cooler than
that. I don't want you to say names. I want to talk about the coolest ideas, because some of them had some really cool ideas.
Yeah. Well, for those people listening, the Young Entrepreneurs Academy still exists, and it's out of Rochester, New York, and they have, I don't know now, 150 chapters around the country. And what they're doing is they're raising kids who are middle school and high school, and teaching them how to write a business plan, how to launch a business, which was really cool. We had a Shark Tank, and the kids got money, and they, okay. And I encourage people to look into it. There's young entrepreneur chapters, a couple in New Jersey. We don't run our program anymore because we didn't have the support that we needed, and it just didn't, whatever. We did about 5 years. But I'm going to tell you something different, because it's something related to this that I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
So I met this guy, Chris Thompson. He was on my podcast, and we're probably going to do some collaborations together. And he's up in Canada. And what he does is he's got a painting contracting company, right? But he doesn't do painting and contracting of houses. What he does is he recruits, and this is college, not high school, college kids, teaches them how to grow a business, run a team, sell. And he's got kids doing like $150,000 in a summer. And they stay through his college. This is all in Canada. And then they graduate. Now they have this resume. They go on to their own business. They go into corporate America, whatever it is. He had a kid do $500,000 in house paintings with, he has a crew and all this in a summer. What? Yeah. And he's basically running, and they did 14 million in sales last year. They're doing 17 million this year. They're going to break 20 the year after. But he's basically raising entrepreneurs, which is what we were doing through the Young Entrepreneurs Academy was a little bit more basic than that. I don't know. The kids didn't necessarily go on and continue running their businesses, but they learned how to write a business plan.
Basic skills, right? Yeah. Like not just college, like teach them how to run a business and give them college. Like the world is their oyster.
Correct. Yeah. So this thing's called Student Works up in Canada, studentworks.com. But it reminded me of all the stuff that we were doing and what we were trying to promote with kids. And, these kids were ready because they get interviewed and they have to fit a certain profile, and you go through a whole process, and you can't get in the program unless you step up.
And they actually make money. See, the thing,
Money. They pay for college.
money. That's so
Many of them are doing $100,000 to $150,000 for the summer. They're not paying the houses themselves. None of these kids are. They have people working for them.
They have people.
And they learn how to manage and run a payroll and write a business plan and deal with financials and customers and advertising and social media. Yeah, the whole thing. And he's a great guy and he's doing the stuff. So you can
love it.
But the Young Entrepreneurs Academy was a great experience. I mean, we met probably.
I know.
And we really met a lot of really cool kids who had some great ideas. I still hear from some of the kids in college. Yeah. They reach out to me on social media. They send me an email, whatever.
Great.
My son went through the program. He ended up going to the regional competition or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just great. I mean, think about all these skills that you and I are developing if we got them when we were 20.
I know.
18.
I know. It's amazing.
But that's not the rules. That's not life.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out at the end.
It's true.
So, but if you have a young budding entrepreneur, you're looking at the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Newark still has a program, and I think there's a couple other programs in the state.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Any other final words or wisdom or thoughts from you?
No, I just think that if you want to be a good leader, you got to remember that, be transparent, be supportive, be caring. Don't be the kind of person that, cover things up and not be honest with people. I think that people are well served if you say that we're going to get through this together. Whatever this is not good, and people are going to die. But as a people, we're going to get through it. I remember that 9/11, when there were leaders that said, I don't know how many people, I forget who it was, Giuliani or somebody else. Somebody asked, how many people do you think died today? None of the answers were relevant to anything, right? Except it was a large number. And I think he was the one who said, I don't know how many people died today, but whatever it is going to be a larger number than any of us can bear. So let's move on and support each other. And and that's what a good leader does.
Exactly.
During stuff like this, and you see them, good ones, and you see bad ones. And that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
Exactly. I know. I remember what bad leadership looks like just as much as I remember what good leadership looks like.
Maybe more so.
Exactly. You're like, oh, I never want to be that leader. I never want to look like that. Like, that looks so bad. And oof. Yeah. So you learn.
And I don't know what a lot of it's just insecurity.
Yeah.
If you're a secure person, you don't care that people, that you can be honest with people.
Yeah.
Like, what are you hiding? Everybody sees through you anyway.
Right.
Be honest with people. Be supportive of people. Be frank with them.
Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. So Mitch, how can they reach you if they want to connect with you for support, services, whatever?
They certainly go to my website. There's information on the fractional general counsel program, and my automated services. Beinhakerlaw.com is my website. You can always email me. info@beinhakerlaw.com is fine. That'll get to me.
Awesome.
And listen to the podcast on Apple, Google, Amazon Music, and all the other major directories.
What's the name?
Subscribe. It's called The Accidental Entrepreneur.
Thank you.
We're on about episode 75. We got about 105 recorded, so I'm feverishly editing things.
Awesome.
And we got a lot of cool people coming out too. But some of the earlier ones, my first episode, and you know him very well, Jack Killian, two-parter, is just a fascinating story his whole life. So you should listen to that one.
He's amazing. I've adopted him as my mentor because of you.
Jack's great. And I'm involved with his new organization, Street Smart Entrepreneurs, as well. So and you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. I'm always easy to hunt down.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here and sharing what you did. And I look forward to following all your podcasts and staying in touch.
Thanks, Michelle.
So much. All right. Bye, Mitch.